This man's name is Gu Chuan. To finish his master's thesis, he went to the mountains to capture stunning landscapes. He was on the verge of achieving both career success and finding love. But on his way back late one night, he got into a car accident. In a moment of urgency, Gu Chuan rushed to help the victim. But the driver, fearing he would be exposed, panicked and sped off, causing Gu Chuan and the victim to fall off a cliff. A metal rod pierced Gu Chuan's heart as he plummeted down. When Gu Chuan woke up, he heard the scared cries of a little girl. He reached out to comfort her, but she discovered his hand was getting cold and lifeless. He was gone. The only sounds left in the vast wilderness were the girl's desperate cries and the distant wail of a siren. Thankfully, Dr. Peel gave Gu Chuan a mechanical heart, giving him a second chance at life. But this miracle came with a price. The constant hum of the machine could keep him up all night, and his life would be drastically limited. He couldn't exercise, drink alcohol, or fall in love. And when his heart rate spiked, his body would react uncontrollably to objects he touched, emitting electrical shocks. To make matters worse, his mechanical heart was slowly dying, needing more and more charging time. His life was running out. Gu Chuan, realizing his fate, started searching for a resting place in the cemetery. He was looking for a safe haven after death. He was browsing mausoleums when a salesman tried to pitch the best feng shui locations. He was visibly nervous when Gu Chuan revealed his intentions. Just then, Xu Changran, a friend and investor, called Gu Chuan, inviting him to a social gathering that evening. Gu Chuan wanted to refuse because he couldn't drink, but Xu Changran reminded him about his goal of winning the Golden Goose Award, one of the most prestigious awards in his field. Gu Chuan, driven by his ambition, reluctantly agreed. For the past 10 years, Gu Chuan had been building his company, achieving one dream after another. He wanted to make sure he had no regrets in his short life. The Golden Goose Award was his last dream. At the dinner, he saw his assistant, Su Man Lin, drinking for him while an older man, known to be a bit of a predator, kept pressuring him to drink. Gu Chuan couldn't take it anymore. Ignoring Xu Changran's warnings, he accepted the man's offer of a drink. As soon as he finished, his heart rate shot up. Xu Changran was worried and tried to get Gu Chuan to leave, but he insisted on shaking hands with the man. The moment their hands touched, the man fainted from an electric shock. As Gu Chuan left, he was stopped by a young woman, a rideshare driver. Their hands brushed, and Gu Chuan was surprised to discover she wasn't affected by his electrical current. Intrigued, he accepted a ride. They were on their way when a large truck approached, causing the driver, Xiao Ning, to slam on the brakes. She was still visibly shaken as the truck passed. 10 years ago, she was involved in a fatal car accident with her parents, and she still felt a fear whenever she saw trucks at night. The close call sent her heart racing, and she instinctively grabbed Gu Chuan's arm. Their intimate contact spiked Gu Chuan's heart rate again, and he quickly pushed her away. But his hand accidentally touched the car's hood, and the electricity from his body instantly fried the car's electrical system. The next morning, Xiao Ning received a job interview invite. It was from Gu Chuan's design company. It turned out that the night before, Su Man Lin was harassed by the creepy client, He Shang, in the bathroom. Xiao Ning, witnessing the whole thing, stepped in to help. Coincidentally, Su Man Lin was looking for a driver assistant for Gu Chuan, and she thought Xiao Ning was smart and quick-witted. A perfect fit. Plus, during the interview, it was discovered that Xiao Ning also majored in design. But when Gu Chuan learned that she dropped out of school, he insisted she continue her education and ultimately declined her application. On her way back, Xiao Ning ran into Gu Chuan. She hoped he would give her another chance, but he remained firm in his refusal. Seeing no other option, she noticed a traffic light and got an idea. She pulled him toward a different path. Gu Chuan was confused, but went along with her. Xiao Ning then explained that even though she took a longer route, it wasn't a waste of time. Even if she had to work harder than others, she believed that she could reach her destination as long as she kept going. But then, Gu Chuan pointed out that his destination was on the other side. Xiao Ning turned around and realized she had taken a wrong turn. Embarrassed, she apologized. That evening, Gu Chuan was walking alone at a crosswalk. As he watched the red light turn on, he started reflecting on his life. He remembered what Xiao Ning had said earlier that day. Suddenly, he realized the meaning of life. He picked up his phone and called his HR manager, deciding to hire Xiao Ning. The next day, Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan went to a project meeting, but He Shang blocked their entrance, refusing to let Xiao Ning in. He held a grudge against her for spoiling his fun the previous night. Seeing them together, He thought they were out to get him and decided to humiliate them. Thankfully, He Sheng's boss arrived in time, and Gu Chuan managed to bring Xiao Ning into the meeting room. During the meeting, He Sheng didn't directly confront Gu Chuan, but he tried to be sarcastic. Gu Chuan skillfully countered his every jab. All this impressed Xiao Ning, who was watching from the side. After the meeting, He Sheng, still furious, noticed Xiao Ning alone and had a sinister idea. He grabbed her phone. Xiao Ning, who was naive and didn't understand his intentions, wanted to invite him to dinner to smooth things over and avoid affecting their business relationship. But He Sheng wasn't interested in dinner. He wanted something else. As he cornered her, Gu Chuan arrived and pushed him away. Seeing he couldn't get away with it, He Sheng changed his tune. Gu Chuan wasn't interested in his antics and told Xiao Ning to call the police. He Sheng, fearing the consequences, begrudgingly returned her phone. But Gu Chuan, still upset by his cocky attitude, pressed him against the wall. He Sheng, realizing he was outnumbered, gave in and apologized. Gu Chuan then let him go and forcefully pulled Xiao Ning away. Back home, Xiao Ning thought about how Gu Chuan bravely rescued her, and her heart started pounding. She was slowly falling for her strong and capable boss. The next day, Su Manlin mentioned a design exhibition to Gu Chuan. She planned to use the opportunity to spend time with him alone, but Gu Chuan decided to bring Xiao Ning along. This made Manlin secretly admire him, and jealousy began to simmer in her heart. Xiao Ning was thrilled about the design exhibition invitation. But then she received a call from the hospital, saying that her grandma Jiang Mai was in a car accident and had been admitted. Xiao Ning had no choice but to ask Manlin for a day off. Manlin was secretly delighted that she could be alone with Gu Chuan. When it was time to leave, Gu Chuan noticed that Xiao Ning wasn't there and asked Manlin where she was. Manlin didn't mention that Xiao Ning had called out sick and pretended she had just left for some reason. But Gu Chuan directly called Xiao Ning. To avoid worrying him, Xiao Ning simply said she had a personal matter and couldn't go to the exhibition. Gu Chuan was about to get mad, but then he accidentally overheard the nurse mention medical bills. Now he knew Xiao Ning was in the hospital. He quickly rushed there with Manlin and even asked her to pay the medical bills. Xiao Ning refused, but Gu Chuan insisted it was a loan from the company and she could pay it back gradually through her salary. Just then, Xiao Ning's friend, Tang Xu, arrived. Tang Xu had a crush on Xiao Ning and immediately saw Gu Chuan as a rival. He insisted on paying the bills, but Xiao Ning refused his offer and accepted Gu Chuan's help as a salary advance. Watching both men care for Xiao Ning, Manlin felt incredibly jealous. Gu Chuan got a call from the doctor while they were on their way and rushed back home. The doctor was ready to update his mechanical heart. He noticed a hope for the future in Gu Chuan's voice, a change from his previous pessimism. But Gu Chuan didn't realize it himself. Perhaps his outlook was gradually changing. Meanwhile, Xiao Ning's best friend, Zhao Yan, was helping her take care of her grandma. She fell asleep from exhaustion, and her grandma nearly started a fire in the kitchen. The landlord was furious and even threatened to evict Xiao Ning. She refused, claiming she still had a lease agreement and promised to fix the damage. Later, Tang Xu took Xiao Ning and her grandma to his old house to stay temporarily. Xiao Ning was a natural at her job, meticulous and intelligent, and quickly won over her colleagues. She even shared her thoughts on the resort project with Gu Chuan, who was surprised to find her ideas mirrored his own. That evening, Gu Chuan saw Xiao Ning asleep at her desk, exhausted. Her design sketches were on the screen, proving she was dedicated to the project. Inspired, Gu Chuan impulsively invited her to go fishing. They sat by the still lake, and Gu Chuan listened patiently as Xiao Ning chatted about random things, even though he was clearly losing patience. Suddenly, his fishing rod moved. A fish was caught. They worked together to reel it in, and their hands accidentally touched. As he looked into Xiao Ning's bright, sparkling eyes, Gu Chuan's heart raced. He felt something strange. He quickly pulled his hand away and pretended to be calm. Xiao Ning, equally flustered, didn't know what to do. The next morning, Tang Xu was taking Xiao Ning to work when they ran into Gu Chuan and Xu Changran. It turned out that Tang Xu was Xu Changran's adopted brother, but Xu Changran didn't seem to like him very much. Gu Chuan was also annoyed to see Tang Xu with Xiao Ning. To break things up, they made up a company rule: no dating during the internship period, no contact with outsiders, especially men. Xiao Ning didn't want to lose her job, so she persuaded Tang Xu to leave. Later, Gu Chuan took Xiao Ning to a business meeting with a partner company. Gu Chuan presented his improved plan to CEO Qian, and they successfully reached an agreement. To celebrate the project's success, Gu Chuan threw a party. He also announced that Xiao Ning had passed her evaluation and was now a full-time employee. She was overjoyed. At the party, reminded by a coworker, Xiao Ning grabbed a glass of wine and went to toast Gu Chuan. He refused, but she happily finished the whole glass anyway. Then, she asked him to stand up. Gu Chuan didn't know why, but he stood up. To everyone's shock, she hugged him tightly to express her gratitude. Gu Chuan's heart started racing, and just then, Xu Changran arrived and saw the scene. Gu Chuan quickly pushed Xiao Ning away. She was drunk and turned to hug Man Lin. Things were getting awkward, so Wang Kai suggested everyone clink glasses. Man Lin was filled with jealousy and drowned her sorrows in alcohol. Xu Changran, worried about Man Lin, said goodbye to Gu Chuan and took her home. Xiao Ning, also drunk, insisted on driving Gu Chuan home. He quickly stopped her, feeling it was better if he drove her. They got to her neighborhood and he offered to walk her to her door, but she politely declined, embarrassed to bother him. Gu Chuan had to leave. Xiao Ning wanted to go inside, but she smelled like alcohol and feared her grandma would scold her. So she decided to walk around for a while to get rid of the smell. Gu Chuan was still worried about her on his way home, so he called her to make sure she had gotten home safely. Xiao Ning was about to lie to him, but a drunken man's vomiting sound caught Gu Chuan's attention. She couldn't hide it anymore and confessed. Seeing the man throwing up, Xiao Ning kindly offered him a bottle of water. When he looked up, she realized it was He Sheng, the man who had tried to attack her before. Apparently, He Sheng had been fired after his boss discovered he was secretly trying to raise the prices on Gu Chuan and Xiao Ning's project. He had a deep grudge against them. Naturally, he wasn't going to let this opportunity go. While they were arguing, Gu Chuan, who was on the other end of the phone, overheard their conversation. Worried about Xiao Ning, he quickly drove back. He Sheng, full of anger, grabbed Xiao Ning and vented his frustration. She tried to fight back, but he forcefully dragged her to a secluded spot, intending to assault her. Thankfully, Gu Chuan arrived just in time and knocked He Sheng to the ground with a single punch. He Sheng, enraged, attacked Gu Chuan. He grabbed a broken piece of glass and stabbed Gu Chuan, who was no match for him. He Sheng scratched Gu Chuan's arm. Xiao Ning rushed to help, but He Sheng turned on her and injured her too. Seeing Xiao Ning hurt, Gu Chuan's heart rate skyrocketed. Just as He Sheng was about to attack Xiao Ning again, Gu Chuan caught him. His body discharged a powerful electric current, sending He Sheng flying several yards away. His heart rate quickly slowed down, and eventually, he collapsed, unconscious. Fearing the worst, Xiao Ning rushed to his side, cradling him in her arms, and apologizing for her recklessness. Thankfully, Xu Changran received a warning about Gu Chuan's abnormal heart rate and rushed over. He helped them both to the hospital to get their wounds bandaged. He Sheng, after he woke up, cried to the police about what had happened. But nobody believed him, thinking he was just drunk and talking nonsense. Gu Chuan, back home, quickly asked Xiao Ning to leave. She was worried about him and insisted on staying. Gu Chuan could only let her stay in the living room while he went into the charging pod. It turns out that his body's electric discharges had almost shut down his mechanical heart. He had to lie in the pod to recharge and maintain his heartbeat. Xiao Ning had no idea what was happening and was anxiously waiting in the living room. After recharging, Gu Chuan went downstairs and found Xiao Ning fast asleep on the couch. He lovingly covered her with a blanket. The doctor, after learning about the large electrical discharge from Gu Chuan's heart, warned him about the danger of such behavior. He also told him to absolutely avoid romantic relationships. Any intimate contact could increase his heart rate and put him at risk. Gu Chuan didn't say anything, but he secretly had feelings for Xiao Ning. Xu Changran, wanting to help Gu Chuan out of his loneliness, told Xiao Ning, as his boss, to bring some of her things over. When Xiao Ning was about to leave, he suggested they have lunch together, which she agreed to without thinking. Seeing this, Xu Changran found an excuse to leave, leaving Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan alone. Gu Chuan, who was busy with work, realized what Xu Changran was up to and wanted to send Xiao Ning home. But she was concerned about his injury and insisted on staying and cooking for him. She opened the refrigerator and saw everything was perfectly organized, muttering under her breath that he had OCD. She almost got caught by Gu Chuan. Watching Xiao Ning busy herself, Gu Chuan recalled what Xu Changran had said. Maybe it was good for him to be around people, to experience the joys and sorrows of human life. He couldn't be a cold, emotionless lizard forever. Xiao Ning asked Gu Chuan for help, and he misunderstood. He thought she wanted him to fix her hair. Xiao Ning was surprised and explained she only needed him to bring the food. Gu Chuan, suddenly flustered, his heart racing, quickly made an excuse to make a phone call to calm himself down. Xiao Ning, worried about whether he would like her cooking, was relieved when Gu Chuan praised the food. Just then, the doorbell rang. She thought it was Zhu Chengren returning and went to open the door. But Gu Chuan remembered that his parents were coming home that day and quickly stopped her. The two bumped into each other and fell to the floor. His mom opened the door and saw the scene. She was shocked and quickly retreated, thinking she had gone to the wrong house. She couldn't believe her stoic son would have a girl in his house. She and her husband peeked in again, seeing Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan pretending to discuss work, as if nothing was wrong. But the laptop, which was still booting up, gave them away. Gu Chuan's mom, seeing the awkward situation, quickly changed the topic to the food on the table. She winked at Gu Chuan's dad and started inquiring about her future daughter-in-law. Gu Chuan, realizing the situation was getting out of control, told Xiao Ning to go back to the company. She quickly left, as if a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders. After that, Gu Chuan's mom kept praising Xiao Ning. But Gu Chuan returned to his usual cold demeanor. He asked his parents when they were leaving, his cold tone infuriating his father. When they arrived in the country, Gu Chuan didn't even go to pick them up and left them at the hotel for days without checking on them. He didn't know if he had done anything to offend his son. Gu Chuan's mom, not as quick to anger as her husband, said they wanted to stay in the country and asked Gu Chuan's opinion. Seeing his once warm and cheerful son now cold and distant, Gu Chuan's dad couldn't understand why he had suddenly changed. To their shock, Gu Chuan said they should just pretend he didn't exist. Hearing his son say this, Gu Chuan's dad was heartbroken. At that moment, Gu Chuan was also deeply troubled. It turned out that years ago, Gu Chuan discovered his mechanical heart's lifespan was rapidly decreasing. He knew he didn't have much time left, so he deliberately kept his distance from his parents. That way, they wouldn't be too heartbroken when he was gone. It was also why he was afraid to get close to anyone. The next day, Gu Chuan and Xiao Ning were heading home from work when the elevator suddenly lost power and they were trapped. Gu Chuan thought it was his electrical discharge, but his heart rate monitor showed it was normal. Xiao Ning blamed it on her bad luck for bringing him misfortune. While they waited for maintenance, they talked. Xiao Ning knew that Gu Chuan planned to retire after winning the Golden Goose Award and quickly protested. She argued that she'd be his assistant. She insisted he shouldn't retire. Seeing how determined she was, Gu Chuan could only nod in agreement. The repair crew arrived and opened the elevator door. Gu Chuan helped Xiao Ning out first. She turned around and reached for him. Seeing her hand outstretched, Gu Chuan flashed back to the accident years ago. The warmth of her hand felt familiar. On their way home, they continued talking. Gu Chuan learned that Xiao Ning's father was also a designer, but had passed away, which touched him. Gu Chuan's parents, after arguing with their son, were disappointed and decided to return to their country. Man Lin went to see them off on behalf of Gu Chuan. Gu Chuan's mom asked Man Lin to take care of her son, also mentioning that she had noticed Gu Chuan's feelings for Xiao Ning. Even though he called her his assistant, she knew her son. Perhaps he didn't even realize how much he liked Xiao Ning. This filled Man Lin with envy. Meanwhile, Jiang Mai was released from the hospital. Tang Xu went to pick them up and take them home. But Jiang Mai's face changed the moment she saw him. When they got home and saw a picture of Tang Xu's father, she became even angrier. It turned out that Xiao Ning's father was falsely accused of embezzling company funds, all orchestrated by Tang Xu's father, his best friend. At the time, Xiao Ning's father was already dead, so he couldn't defend himself. This had become a painful thorn in Jiang Mai's heart. She couldn't forgive him and refused to live in Tang Xu's house. Xiao Ning broke down and told her that when Jiang Mai was in the hospital, she had almost set the house on fire. She even borrowed money from the company to pay her medical bills. She had no money left for a new deposit on another apartment. Jiang Mai, defeated by reality, finally agreed to stay there. The next day, Xiao Ning went to pick up Gu Chuan for work. He had to deal with something, so she had to wait for him to finish. While waiting, she accidentally bumped into Zhu Chengren, who was looking disheveled. He gestured that he was giving them their space and quickly left. Seeing Gu Chuan seriously working, Xiao Ning started learning about the product. Gu Chuan, seeing her diligence, decided to break his rule and help her with the parts she didn't understand. Their eyes met and the atmosphere instantly became charged with unspoken tension. Xiao Ning blushed and quickly excused herself to get some water to calm down. Gu Chuan, meanwhile, felt his heart rate spike, and his body started to produce electricity. He was afraid of hurting Xiao Ning with the electrical discharge, so he quickly moved away from her. Xiao Ning wanted to help clean up the desk, but Gu Chuan hurriedly stopped her, accidentally touching the computer in the process. The electricity from his body instantly cut the power in the entire room. At the same time, Xu Changran received a warning about Gu Chuan's abnormal heart rate. He thought to himself, "I just left, and they can't keep their hands off each other already?" Meanwhile, Xiao Ning called an electrician to fix the power, but Gu Chuan was nowhere to be found. She knocked on his door, but there was no answer, so she worriedly went inside to check. She found a strange, secret room behind his office. Xiao Ning was curious about the advanced technology in the room. As she was examining the charging pod, Gu Chuan appeared and stopped her. Xiao Ning just smiled and said she had discovered his secret. Did he often stream live in here? Seeing her strange thinking, Gu Chuan quickly shooed her out of the room. He lied that the room was for architectural simulations. When Xiao Ning wanted to pry further, Gu Chuan pulled her out to work. But as they were going downstairs, he realized he hadn't had breakfast yet. He took Xiao Ning to a convenience store to buy milk. He noticed hair clips on sale, hesitated for a moment, and picked one up. As he was paying, he saw Xiao Ning approaching and quickly hid the clip. The cashier recognized Xiao Ning as a classmate and greeted her warmly, inviting her out for dinner sometime. Hearing Xiao Ning readily agree, Gu Chuan felt a pang of jealousy. Once outside, he immediately questioned Xiao Ning about the cashier. He learned that Chen Shen was the school heartthrob, the dream guy of every girl. Gu Chuan couldn't help but feel jealous, but he had to keep it to himself. Back at the office, Gu Chuan listened to his employees' reports, but his mind was preoccupied with how to give Xiao Ning the hair clip. He only snapped back to reality when his employees reminded him. He went home and deliberately showed Xu Changran a picture of Chen Shen, asking him who was more handsome. Xu Changran, having a strong will to live, naturally said that Gu Chuan was more handsome. Gu Chuan, feeling confident, stood up, but Xu Changran added, "Compared to Chen Shen, you're a bit outdated." This immediately deflated Gu Chuan. The next morning, Gu Chuan mustered all his courage and gave Xiao Ning the hair clip, lying that it was a free gift with the milk. Though she found it strange, she didn't think much of it. Gu Chuan saw her wearing the clip in her hair while they were in the car and couldn't help but smile. Man Lin received a complaint from a client, saying the company had changed some of its designers, but nobody could solve her problem. Man Lin was troubled by this, and she accidentally saw the hair clip on Xiao Ning's head. She remembered seeing the hair clip on Gu Chuan's desk the day before. She also recalled Gu Chuan's mom saying that he liked Xiao Ning, which made her jealous. So she decided to hand off this difficult client to Xiao Ning. She said it was to give her a chance to improve, but she actually wanted to sabotage her. Xiao Ning, unaware of her intentions, readily agreed. When she met with the client, at first, the woman calmly offered her a drink. But when Xiao Ning couldn't come up with a solution, the client's face darkened. Then, when Xiao Ning brought up something she shouldn't have, the client erupted in anger, threatening to cancel the order and shooing Xiao Ning out of her house. Back at the company, Man Lin took advantage of the situation to scold her. Xiao Ning was confused. She had just followed Man Lin's instructions, but she didn't understand why the client was so angry. She said she would take responsibility and try to talk to the client again. But Man Lin demanded that she resign. Gu Chuan then called a meeting. To get rid of her rival, Man Lin put all the blame on Xiao Ning. Gu Chuan, no longer as tolerant as he once was with Xiao Ning, simply listened to what happened. Without giving her a chance to explain, he decided to fire her according to company policy. Xu Changran stepped in to help Xiao Ning, which led to an argument between him and Gu Chuan. Gu Chuan, furious, stormed off. Xu Changran, however, gave Xiao Ning a week to convince the client. Xiao Ning was incredibly grateful, while Man Lin was furious. Xiao Ning went home, crying because she felt she had made Gu Chuan angry with her mistake. But she didn't know that Gu Chuan and Xu Changran had planned the entire confrontation at the meeting. It was a way to avoid violating company policy while giving Xiao Ning a chance to redeem herself. The next day, Xiao Ning brought flowers to apologize to the client, but she was turned away at the door. Gu Chuan happened to pass by and saw her. Instead of comforting her, he said bluntly, "A designer needs to win with their designs, not empty apologies." Seeing Xiao Ning's downtrodden look, he handed her a handkerchief. She recognized the pattern on the handkerchief. It was the same star she saw on his desk the day before. She realized that the one behind the scenes silently encouraging her was Gu Chuan. This gave her a newfound determination not to let him down. She went to the construction site to figure out why the client was so adamant about not tearing down the old wall. Maybe it held a story they didn't want to tell. She unexpectedly ran into Gu Chuan there. Because the construction site was far away and her phone had no signal, she couldn't call a cab. Gu Chuan had to sit on Xiao Ning's small electric scooter to get back to the company. On the way, they hit a bump, and Gu Chuan fell off. Xiao Ning didn't notice until a while later. Embarrassed, Gu Chuan sat on the side of the road, thinking he'd never ride an electric scooter again. Especially not Xiao Ning's. It was both dangerous and embarrassing. Xiao Ning apologized profusely, and they walked back to the company together. The next day, Xiao Ning went to see the client's husband and cleverly learned why they were so upset. It turned out their son had died, and they were building the art gallery in his memory. There was a wall that held their memories of their son. But the husband didn't want his wife to be consumed by her grief, so he suggested tearing down the wall. Xiao Ning, unaware of the situation before, had suggested demolishing it. Now, hearing the client's story, she understood the wife's feelings. She, having experienced similar pain when she lost her parents, shared her own thoughts honestly. She had also hidden her parents' belongings to avoid facing the pain, but that only made her dwell on the past even more. She felt it was better to face everything head-on, to confront reality. Initially, she wanted to find the truth, but she ended up encouraging the husband to keep the wall. The wife, listening to their conversation, was deeply touched by Xiao Ning's words and finally forgave her. Man Lin, knowing that Gu Chuan and Xu Changran had staged the meeting, was filled with jealousy and said that Gu Chuan was behaving completely different than he used to. Gu Chuan shot back, asking if giving a difficult project to a newbie wasn't her style either. When Man Lin tried to defend herself, Gu Chuan reminded her that she couldn't be so strict. Special situations need special treatment. But then, Man Lin asked if it was a special situation or a special person. Gu Chuan was surprised that she would dare to challenge him, and told her to mind her own business. Finally, Man Lin, fuming, left. The next day, Gu Chuan announced that the client had given them another chance. The condition was that the wall had to stay, and he specifically assigned the design to Xiao Ning. She was thrilled but also worried. She was afraid she wouldn't be able to do it well. Thankfully, her colleagues, who liked her, offered their help. All she needed to do was come up with the design concept. Everyone had left for the night, but Gu Chuan saw that Xiao Ning was still there and went to check on her. He learned that she was stuck on the design and used his crystal ball to inspire her. They discussed the design together. The next day, Xiao Ning presented her idea to the client, who was very satisfied. After the client left, Xiao Ning thanked Gu Chuan. Seeing his constantly gloomy demeanor, she told him that if he couldn't change his life, he should at least try to make the present better. She had seen the light in his eyes, but it quickly disappeared. She hoped that light would never fade. Gu Chuan was finally impressed by Xiao Ning's optimism and grew to like the kind, simple girl even more. They were enjoying the beautiful sunset, and Xiao Ning took a selfie. Gu Chuan wanted to be in the picture too. That evening, Gu Chuan couldn't help but ask for a copy of the photo they took that day. Looking at the beautiful sunset and Xiao Ning's smile, Gu Chuan decided that he would start being more cheerful in the future. The next day at the office, Gu Chuan not only bought flowers for himself, but also asked Xiao Ning to get some for their colleagues. Everyone was surprised and started speculating that Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan were dating. Man Lin, listening from the side, was incredibly jealous. That evening, Gu Chuan received a call from the doctor. The doctor said his recent readings were very good and encouraged him to keep up his positive attitude. The next day, Gu Chuan happily announced to his employees that the company was organizing a 2-day team building trip. Man Lin, watching Gu Chuan and Xiao Ning smile at each other, was filled with annoyance. So after Gu Chuan left, she told Xiao Ning that she hadn't finished her work yet and couldn't go on the trip. Wang Kai was disgusted by her bullying and defended Xiao Ning. Man Lin, unable to retort, stormed off. That evening, Tang Xu picked up Xiao Ning after work. He had just returned from a business trip and brought gifts for her grandma and a necklace for her. Gu Chuan walked past at that moment and saw Tang Xu putting the necklace on Xiao Ning, which made him uneasy. On his way home, he kept replaying that image in his mind. He quickly called Xiao Ning to check if she was on a date. When he learned that she was preparing dinner for him, he felt relieved. He also asked her to go shopping for clothes for the team building trip with him the next day. The next day, they went to the mall. Xiao Ning picked out an athletic outfit for Gu Chuan. The salesperson, taking the opportunity, brought out another outfit, saying they were a matching couple set. Xiao Ning said they didn't look right, but Gu Chuan asked her to try it on. After she changed, he said she looked great in it, but the necklace didn't really go with the outfit. Xiao Ning, without thinking much, took it off. With the necklace out of sight, Gu Chuan instantly cheered up. Xiao Ning felt embarrassed because of the couple's outfit. That evening, they arrived at the team building location. Everyone complimented them on their matching outfits. Only Man Lin looked unhappy. She deliberately reminded Xiao Ning that she had work to finish and had to complete it by noon the next day. Xiao Ning reluctantly said goodbye to everyone. But then Gu Chuan knocked on her door and said he didn't like the food there and wanted some of her cooking. They ate together. Looking at a concept map Xiao Ning had drawn, Gu Chuan noticed an error in her work. Xiao Ning felt lucky that he was always there to help her whenever she made mistakes. Meanwhile, Man Lin went looking for Gu Chuan with dinner, wanting to spend some time with him alone, but she found no one in his room. At that moment, everyone's attention was drawn to the fireworks exploding in the sky. Gu Chuan couldn't help but feel nostalgic for a time when he could look up at a star-filled sky like this. Suddenly, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Xiao Ning quickly reminded Gu Chuan to make a wish. He focused on her closed eyes and couldn't help but smile. Man Lin, unable to find Gu Chuan, was about to go home when she accidentally saw the reflection of them in Xiao Ning's room, looking very close. This made her incredibly angry. Xiao Ning corrected her drawing according to Gu Chuan's instructions and turned to see him fast asleep. She gently covered him with a blanket and admired his handsome face. Meanwhile, Gu Chuan was dreaming about the car accident 10 years ago. He remembered the little girl's hand reaching out to him. He was awakened by her voice calling out to him. Seeing Xiao Ning covering him with a blanket, he was touched. He reached out to cover her with the blanket and vaguely heard her talking about food. He found her adorable. But he didn't know that the adorable girl was the same one from the accident years ago. The next day, everyone was free to do as they pleased. They enthusiastically discussed where to go. But Gu Chuan pulled Xiao Ning aside, saying she had some calculations to finish. Man Lin, seeing this, stormed back to her office. Gu Chuan took Xiao Ning to the ski resort. She was totally captivated by it, acting like a little kid, and even begged him to take pictures of her. Gu Chuan, a straight man who had only recently come out of his shell, was losing his patience. Along the way, Xiao Ning was reflecting on how unlucky she had been before she met Gu Chuan, how everything had gotten better since. But it seemed like fate was working against her. Just as she was happily enjoying herself, she stepped on the ski board under her feet. Gu Chuan, quick as a flash, caught her, but they still went down the slope because of the momentum. Even though the snow was cold, it didn't stop the heat between them. Gu Chuan's heart rate spiked, and the electricity from his body lit up the surrounding lights, even giving Xiao Ning a small electric shock. Once they were outside, the staff told them that they had a free stuffed animal, and they could choose anyone they liked. Xiao Ning, playfully mimicking a claw machine, closed her eyes and grabbed a stuffed animal. It turned out to be a lizard. She teased that it looked like Gu Chuan. Gu Chuan, not wanting to be outdone, picked up a black crow stuffed animal, saying it looked like her. On the way back, Xiao Ning discovered that the stuffed animals could record. She secretly recorded a message into the lizard, telling Gu Chuan not to keep a straight face all the time. After she finished recording, she gave the lizard to him with a mischievous smile. Back in his room, Gu Chuan heard Xiao Ning's recording and smiled happily. He then recorded a message for her, wishing all her dreams would come true. That evening, they went to karaoke. Everyone was making a fuss, wanting Xiao Ning to sing. She felt confident and grabbed the mic, but her off-key singing really made people question their perception of reality. Gu Chuan couldn't help but take the mic and be her hero, but his singing was even more shocking than hers. Finally, everyone understood the meaning of, "There's always a bigger fish in the sea." After the team-building trip, Gu Chuan found an excuse to trade the lizard for Xiao Ning's crow. But inside the crow was also a recording of Xiao Ning encouraging herself to do well, or else she'd run away. Xiao Ning found out that Gu Chuan had recorded a message for her, and was very happy. She made the lizard her profile picture. They both were caught up in their joy and happiness. Knowing that Xiao Ning liked fruit tea, Gu Chuan bought them 2 cups the next morning. They walked into the office side by side, with their fruit teas, smiling, which surprised their colleagues. Everyone wondered if they were a couple. At lunchtime, Tang Xiu invited Xiao Ning out for lunch. Man Lin, seeing Gu Chuan coming to find Xiao Ning, deliberately told him that she had gone out with her childhood sweetheart. This made him anxious and worried. He couldn't help but send Xiao Ning a message. That evening, Xu Changran invited Gu Chuan to his girlfriend's place to look at flowers. Gu Chuan, heartbroken because of his feelings, had no interest in going. Xu Changran mentioned that Xiao Ning was there too, so Gu Chuan instantly changed his mind. Xiao Ning was surprised to see Gu Chuan coming along. Zhao Yan, being very perceptive, gave them some alone time. Xiao Ning took the opportunity to apologize for what happened earlier. Gu Chuan's mood instantly shifted from gloomy to cheerful. Looking at the slowly blooming night blooming jasmine, the four of them took a picture together. The next day, at a meeting, everyone was talking about how a famous cafe wanted Man Lin to design it. She initially refused, but when she heard Gu Chuan agreeing to take the project, she changed her mind. She also demanded to bring Xiao Ning in as her assistant. Then, Man Lin reported the cafe's basic information to Gu Chuan and wanted to go check it out with him, but he called Xiao Ning to go with him too. When they got there, Xiao Ning looked out at the lake in front of her and couldn't help but be mesmerized. Chen Wenwen, a photographer, was passing by and saw her. He took a picture of her, and that's how they met. Gu Chuan and Man Lin were chatting upstairs when they saw Xiao Ning downstairs. Gu Chuan immediately went down and asked her why she didn't come upstairs with them to study. It turned out that Man Lin had stopped her, saying she would personally teach her. This time for work, the three of them were staying in a hotel. Xiao Ning was wearing a swimsuit and went to the hotel's outdoor hot spring when she ran into Chen Wenwen. They happily chatted with each other. Meanwhile, Man Lin, using the excuse of discussing work, called Gu Chuan to her room. Then, she took the opportunity to ask him directly if he had fallen for Xiao Ning, but Gu Chuan just smiled bitterly and said he probably wouldn't fall for anyone. He pushed open the door and left. Just then, Xiao Ning returned and saw Man Lin, still in her seductive pajamas, standing next to Gu Chuan. She quickly ran back to her room, feeling heartbroken. Later, she went out to the balcony, dejected. Gu Chuan came out then and explained to her what had just happened, saying he was only discussing work with Man Lin. Seeing him explain things to her, Xiao Ning, back in her room, couldn't hide her joy. The next day, Chen Wenwen called Xiao Ning and hoped she could help him design his photo exhibition. Xiao Ning said that she was just an assistant and suggested she introduce him to her talented boss. Xiao Ning went to talk to Gu Chuan about it, and he said that Man Lin was mainly in charge of photo exhibitions. He told Xiao Ning to approach Man Lin. Man Lin, however, was unhappy that Xiao Ning had gone over her head to report work. When she found out that Chen Wenwen was Xiao Ning's friend, she disliked him even more. During their discussion, she kept interrupting Chen Wenwen, not giving him a chance to speak. Thankfully, Chen Wenwen was very kind. Seeing that Xiao Ning was in an awkward position, he chose to compromise and scheduled a time to discuss things further at the company. Later, Xiao Ning apologized for the way Man Lin treated Chen Wenwen, thinking she had done so because Xiao Ning had gone over her head. But Chen Wenwen, having seen the situation, saw through Man Lin's animosity towards Xiao Ning. She liked Gu Chuan. He encouraged her to fight for Gu Chuan if she liked him. The next day, Chen Wenwen went to Xiao Ning's company as planned. As soon as she saw the company's logo, she was stunned. At that moment, Gu Chuan arrived, and they were both surprised to see each other. Chen Wenwen directly called out Gu Chuan's name. It turned out that 10 years ago, Gu Chuan and Chen Wenwen were a couple and were about to get married. But Gu Chuan was in a car accident that pierced his heart. He was lucky to get a mechanical heart transplant, which saved his life. But the side effect was that he couldn't live a normal life. Because of that, Gu Chuan avoided Chen Wenwen. Gu Chuan's mom, fearing that she would waste her youth, advised her not to wait for her son. In the end, Chen Wenwen, not wanting Gu Chuan to feel guilty, took the initiative to break up with him. After all these years, they had finally resolved their issues with this encounter. Man Lin was eavesdropping on their conversation from the side. As she was about to leave, Chen Wenwen went to see Xiao Ning and encouraged her to be brave. She had chosen the right person. Man Lin, using the excuse of a collaboration, invited Chen Wenwen to dinner that night, wanting to see if she still had feelings for Gu Chuan. But Chen Wenwen saw right through her and said directly that Gu Chuan would definitely not choose Man Lin. If she were Gu Chuan, she would also choose Xiao Ning. She then got up and left. Meanwhile, Xiao Ning was taking Gu Chuan home. She finally gathered the courage to confess her feelings to him. But just then, her phone rang. It turned out that Man Lin wanted to stir up trouble between Xiao Ning and Chen Wenwen. She deliberately brought up the fact that Chen Wenwen was Gu Chuan's ex-girlfriend, making Xiao Ning think that she was trying to get close to her, so she could get back together with Gu Chuan. Xiao Ning recalled various past events with Chen Wenwen, and her heart couldn't help but waver. Gu Chuan asked her if there was something she wanted to tell him, but Xiao Ning, with tears in her eyes, ran away. Looking at her reflection in the mirror, she felt she was not worthy of Gu Chuan. So, she resolved to work hard. The next day at work, Xiao Ning was absent-minded, like a lost soul. She even asked a coworker to take her work documents to Gu Chuan for her. That day happened to be Wang Kai's birthday, and Gu Chuan, wanting to cheer Xiao Ning up, took the opportunity to organize a company gathering. Xiao Ning, however, was not in the mood to celebrate. She was even more depressed when she saw Gu Chuan and Man Lin sitting next to each other. She kept drinking, one glass after another. Seeing this, her coworkers suggested playing a game of truth or dare. She was chosen twice, and she didn't want to answer. But everyone was determined to take advantage of this opportunity and asked her about her first love. Xiao Ning said her first love was happening right now, and it was over before it even began. Man Lin quickly changed the subject, asking everyone to sing the birthday song. As everyone was laughing and having fun, Xiao Ning remembered the car accident when she was little and rushed out. Gu Chuan noticed something was wrong and wanted to follow her, but Man Lin stopped him, saying she would go see what was wrong. Seeing Xiao Ning's distraught state, Man Lin started stirring the pot, reminding her about Chen Wenwen. But Xiao Ning directly confronted her, saying she liked Gu Chuan. She also said that everyone had the right to pursue love and hoped that they could compete fairly. Seeing that her attempt to create discord had failed, Man Lin stormed off. After what had just happened, Xiao Ning finally came out of her self-doubt and decided to take the initiative in love. The next day, Gu Chuan took Xiao Ning to meet his mentor. The peaceful scenery lifted Xiao Ning's spirits. Master Wang told her that she was the only girl Gu Chuan had brought there. Xiao Ning was even happier. When they went inside the house, she accidentally discovered a picture of her and her father. Master Wang looked at Xiao Ning and realized that the girl in front of him was the daughter of his student, Jiang Guangda. He took out his notebook, which contained many designs he and Xiao Ning's father had collaborated on. He gave it to her. After leaving Master Wang's house, Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan took shelter from the rain under an awning. They shared a popsicle, and the atmosphere between them became a little ambiguous. Gu Chuan took the opportunity to tell her the story of his relationship with Chen Wenwen. They had been dating since high school and broke up in college. Bringing Chen Wenwen to the company was a good thing, a way to bring their relationship to a satisfying end. Later, Xiao Ning saw a stray cat in the heavy rain and quickly took it into her arms. She even gave it a new name, Kim. Gu Chuan, who hated shedding animals, agreed to take it home with them at Xiao Ning's insistence. After they got the cat, Gu Chuan often used Kim as an excuse to go to his house with Xiao Ning. They were happily chatting about Kim when Gu Chuan received a call. His design had won the Golden Goose Award. Although it was exactly what he had hoped for, he seemed lost in thought. He had finally reached the final destination of his life, and he couldn't help but feel a bit reluctant. The next day, he went back to the cemetery, only to find out that the plot he liked had already been sold. Gu Chuan wasn't angry, but instead remembered Xiao Ning's encouragement. On his way home, Gu Chuan watched the people passing by and thought back to all the moments he had with Xiao Ning. Back at the office, everyone happily congratulated him on his award, but he coldly told them to get back to work. Xu Cheng Ran, understanding Gu Chuan's mind, advised him not to dwell on his past plans. He should think about his parents and the people who loved him. These words touched Gu Chuan a little. When he got home, he gathered his courage and called his parents. His mom was thrilled. Gu Chuan's dad, cold on the outside and warm on the inside, showed his disdain. Gu Chuan, changing his usual cold demeanor, apologized for distancing himself from his parents all these years. Finally, he said the words of gratitude he had been holding back for so long. Gu Chuan's dad couldn't hold back his tears and quickly found an excuse to go somewhere and cry quietly. Seeing his dad like this, Gu Chuan realized how unfilial he had been, and also cried with heartache. The next day, the Golden Goose Award ceremony took place. Gu Chuan was dressed to the nines, looking incredibly handsome, making Xiao Ning drool. At the ceremony, Gu Chuan, as the youngest designer to win the biggest award, went on stage to give his acceptance speech. The host asked him about his future plans. He said he didn't know yet. He was waiting for a suggestion for his future plans. He then looked at Xiao Ning, who was sitting in the audience. This made Man Lin incredibly jealous. Later, Xiao Ning wanted to take Gu Chuan out to celebrate, but he changed his mind. He wanted to go somewhere quiet to relax. They went to an overpass. They didn't say anything to each other, but Xiao Ning was hesitant. Looking at Gu Chuan's handsome face, she finally decided to confess her feelings for him. Hearing Xiao Ning's confession, Gu Chuan was speechless. Xiao Ning humbly said that she might not be worthy of him right now, but she would work hard to improve herself and close the gap between them. However, Gu Chuan coldly said she should focus on her work first. He still needed to think things over. Xiao Ning wanted to say more, but he cut her off. Realizing his rejection, Xiao Ning contained her emotions, turned around, and walked away. Seeing Xiao Ning's retreating figure, Gu Chuan was also heartbroken. It wasn't that he didn't like her. It was that he was afraid to love anymore because he couldn't live a normal life. Not wanting to waste Xiao Ning's youth, he could only cruelly let go of the woman he loved once again. The next day, Chen Wenwen invited Xiao Ning out for dinner. Knowing that Gu Chuan had rejected her, Chen Wenwen enlightened her. Gu Chuan must have had some reason to act that way. She advised her not to give up on the relationship so easily. Then they both went to the design studio together. They didn't realize that Man Lin was following them. When they went up to the rooftop to look around, Chen Wenwen suddenly got a call and had to leave early. Before leaving, she gave Xiao Ning her keys. Xiao Ning continued to take pictures. Late that night, when Xiao Ning was about to go home, she discovered that the door had been locked from the outside. She called Chen Wenwen, but she couldn't get through. It started pouring. Xiao Ning had no choice but to call Gu Chuan for help. Hearing that she was stuck on the rooftop, Gu Chuan was instantly worried and rushed there. But when he and the security guard got to the rooftop, the security guard said he didn't have a key. In a moment of urgency, Gu Chuan decided to climb the elevator shaft. He didn't notice his heart rate was increasing because of the strenuous activity. As Xiao Ning panicked, she saw Gu Chuan appear in front of her. He tried several times to open the door, but he couldn't. Finally, he decided to break the glass. Seeing Gu Chuan take such a reckless risk, Xiao Ning was heartbroken. After repeated attempts, Gu Chuan successfully broke the glass and entered. He didn't pay attention to his pain, rushing to comfort Xiao Ning first. But because of his increased heart rate, his body released an electric current, causing Xiao Ning to faint in the rain. Luckily, Gu Chuan was able to get her to the hospital in time, saving her life. Looking at Xiao Ning in the hospital bed, Gu Chuan couldn't stop blaming himself. The next day, Xiao Ning woke up and saw Gu Chuan sitting by her side. She was touched. But remembering that she had been struck by lightning both times she was saved by him, she started to have doubts. Gu Chuan pretended to joke that he must be a lightning rod and attracted lightning easily. Just then, Chen Wenwen sent Gu Chuan a message. She wanted to visit Xiao Ning. It turned out she knew about Xiao Ning's accident and felt very guilty. Gu Chuan also believed that locking the door wasn't Chen Wenwen's doing. Chen Wenwen realized that he genuinely liked Xiao Ning, so she encouraged him to face his feelings and avoid hurting her. But Gu Chuan felt stuck between a rock and a hard place. Chen Wenwen looked at Gu Chuan intently, hoping that this time he wouldn't push Xiao Ning away like he had pushed her away. Hearing Chen Wenwen's words, Gu Chuan's mechanical heart stirred. Meanwhile, Xu Changran went to the company to look for his father and discovered that the man who had ambushed him before was there. Not only that, he was secretly meeting with his father's assistant. He secretly took a picture and sent it to Gu Chuan. As soon as he saw it, Gu Chuan recognized the man as the truck driver who had intentionally caused the accident that injured him. He called his lawyer and asked him to investigate the man's identity. The lawyer quickly found out that the man's name was Chen Ao, and he was the twin brother of the driver. Although he wasn't directly involved, Gu Chuan couldn't just let him hurt Xu Changran. After Xiao Ning was discharged from the hospital, Gu Chuan personally drove to pick her up for work. This surprise action shocked Xiao Ning. Seeing Gu Chuan's serious expression, she took out a coin and said she wanted to buy something from him. His smile that day. He couldn't help but laugh at her joke. Then, Xiao Ning took out a pile of coins and hoped he would keep smiling in the future. Chen Wenwen was about to go abroad and asked to meet with Xiao Ning. She gave Xiao Ning a photo album of landscapes that Gu Chuan had taken and some photos of him when he was younger. Chen Wenwen encouraged Xiao Ning not to give up on Gu Chuan and wished them happiness together. The next day, Xiao Ning went to work and got a call from her aunt, Jiang, saying that she couldn't find her grandma. Gu Chuan quickly informed Xu Changran, and the five of them searched everywhere but couldn't find her. When they got home, Aunt Jiang discovered that the photos of Xiao Ning's parents were missing. She guessed that her grandma must have gone to the cemetery. Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan rushed there, and sure enough, they found her frail figure. After taking her grandma home, Xiao Ning personally cooked a meal for everyone. That day, it was also Xiao Ning's birthday, and Aunt Jiang brought out a cake to celebrate. Because of the accident years ago, which happened on her birthday, Xiao Ning hadn't celebrated her birthday for 10 years. Aunt Jiang encouraged Xiao Ning to let go of the pain and look to a brand new future. Everyone sang the birthday song. Gu Chuan's singing reached Xiao Ning's ears, and she couldn't help but remember the boy who saved her during the accident. Gu Chuan, hearing about the accident, also felt suspicious. While washing dishes, he asked Xiao Ning about it, and he realized that she was the little girl from that day. Before they parted ways, Xiao Ning, thinking about the events that had happened over the past few days, felt a sense of gratitude and softly hugged Gu Chuan from behind, thanking him. Gu Chuan turned around and held her tightly. He thanked her too, for giving him a sense of family warmth. Back home, Gu Chuan received a call from the doctor. He promised that all the issues with his mechanical heart could be resolved in 3 months. By then, Gu Chuan would be able to live a normal life. Gu Chuan quickly called Xiying, ran to tell him the good news, and also revealed that Xiao Ning was the little girl he had saved. He even admitted that he liked her now. Xu Cheng Ran encouraged Gu Chuan to confess his feelings, but he decided to wait 3 months. The next morning, Gu Chuan woke up feeling different. He was eagerly looking forward to the 3 months passing quickly. He went downstairs and saw Xiao Ning. He even offered to drive. Man Lin was looking through employee files and accidentally discovered that Xiao Ning's father was a designer for a large corporation and was involved in a corruption case. This gave her an opportunity to act quickly. Soon, the news reached the other employees, and they started whispering about it. Xiao Ning, hearing this, was furious and said that her father wasn't a criminal and demanded an apology. Qi Hong said it was wrong of them to gossip behind her back, but that the truth was that her father had been convicted of embezzlement. Why should they apologize? They argued fiercely and almost came to blows. Gu Chuan came over and shouted at them to stop. He also reprimanded Qi Hong for leaking employee information as the HR manager. Qi Hong apologized to Gu Chuan, but he told her not to apologize to him, but to apologize to Xiao Ning. Qi Hong hugged Xiao Ning and apologized, and their conflict was resolved. Man Lin, observing everything coldly from the side, was extremely unhappy. Gu Chuan and Xiao Ning went out to play, but they were harassed by the young and handsome Chen Shen. Xu Cheng Ran learned about Gu Chuan's situation and encouraged him to confess to Xiao Ning quickly. If he waited 3 months, he wouldn't know if she would be with someone else. The next day, Xiao Ning asked Gu Chuan for a day off, saying she had a date with a friend. Gu Chuan pretended to not care but secretly followed her to the meeting place. He saw Chen Shen there. They were sitting next to each other and whispering. Their intimacy made Gu Chuan jealous, and he couldn't focus on work all day. Even worse, when he scrolled through his social media that night, he saw a picture of them together. This made Gu Chuan furious. Xu Cheng Ran, also seeing the picture, which included his girlfriend, Zhao Yan, quickly went to find Gu Chuan. He took the opportunity to encourage him to confess his feelings quickly. With Xu Cheng Ran's frantic encouragement, they went to the building where Zhao Yan lived, determined to investigate their rival. Xu Cheng Ran then called Zhao Yan, pretending to be a food delivery person, and ordered her some food. Zhao Yan, confused by the hangover soup, accepted it anyway. After the delivery person went downstairs, Xu Cheng Ran quickly inquired about the situation inside the apartment. But the person said he was a very ethical delivery person and didn't want to reveal customer information. Xu Cheng Ran had no choice but to borrow the delivery person's uniform and went to the door to investigate. But as soon as Zhao Yan saw him, she recognized him. Gu Chuan, downstairs, saw Chen Shen walking out but didn't see Xu Cheng Ran. He pretended to go find Xu Cheng Ran and knocked on the door. He saw Zhao Yan and Xu Cheng Ran having fun together and quickly found an excuse to leave, leaving Xu Cheng Ran with no escape. The next day, Xiao Ning took a day off to go to a tutoring session. Gu Chuan was worried because she'd be getting home late and wouldn't have transportation. But she said that if she was too late, Chen Shen would take her home. Hearing that his rival was also taking classes with her, Gu Chuan, worried that she would be stolen away, immediately said he would enroll too. He said he had been working for so many years and had become too commercial, so he was going back to school to find new inspiration. As expected in class, Chen Shen tossed notes at Xiao Ning in front of Gu Chuan. Gu Chuan directly transformed into a goalie, blocking all the notes and throwing them in the trash. Because of the commotion, the teacher asked them both to stand up and answer a question. Chen Shen couldn't answer, but Gu Chuan answered smoothly. His insufferable genius. Aura immediately charmed the girls around him. Xiaoning couldn't help but praise Gu Chuan. After class, Gu Chuan found an excuse to ask Xiaoning to get him a drink. At the same time, he questioned Chen Shen about why he was messing around with her. Chen Shen said frankly that if Gu Chuan didn't act quickly, he would steal Xiaoning away. Just as the atmosphere grew tense, Xiaoning returned and broke the stalemate. Gu Chuan, hearing Chen Shen's words, couldn't help but feel anxious. He kept thinking about Chen Shen wanting to steal Xiaoning away. So he decided to follow Xiaoning to class for the next few days. But the teacher in the class discovered Gu Chuan's identity and felt that he was there to disrupt the class and wouldn't let him in. Gu Chuan had no choice but to wait outside until late at night. After class, Chen Shen wanted to take Xiaoning out for hot pot in front of Gu Chuan. Gu Chuan couldn't eat spicy food, but to protect his love, he agreed to go with them. Xiaoning, knowing he couldn't eat spicy food, kept trying to stop him. But Gu Chuan, for the sake of his pride, tried to hold on. While Xiaoning was away, Chen Shen challenged Gu Chuan to a spicy food competition, so they both started eating until their faces flushed. When Xiaoning arrived with water, they finally stopped. Chen Shen tried to put on a brave face, saying it wasn't spicy at all. On the other hand, Gu Chuan was about to give up. Seeing his heart rate spike, he quickly found an excuse to use the bathroom. Xiaoning immediately scolded Chen Shen, but as soon as she finished, the entire restaurant lost power because of Gu Chuan's electric discharge in the bathroom and had to close. Xiaoning went home and apologized for the hot pot incident. But because of Chen Shen's interference, Gu Chuan had made up his mind. His mechanical heart problem would be fixed in 3 months. He finally gathered his courage and confessed his feelings to Xiaoning. He also asked her to wait for him for 3 months. Xiaoning didn't ask why and happily agreed. They officially became a couple. They didn't shy away from showing affection at the company. They would hold hands during meals. They would exchange loving glances during meetings. In their free time, they even used their phones to record their happy moments together. Today, Xiaoning had to work overtime because she hadn't finished her work. Seeing this, Gu Chuan couldn't help but guide her. But Xiaoning quickly stepped aside. She remembered what he had said about keeping their distance. Seeing her playful antics, he pulled her into his arms, making Xiaoning blush with embarrassment. On their way home, Xiaoning took the opportunity to ask him why he had to wait 3 months. Gu Chuan wanted to tell her, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. Xu Changran knew he wanted to tell Xiaoning about the mechanical heart. He hurriedly advised him to think things through before making a decision. Gu Chuan, because of this, couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what Xiaoning had said in the car. Finally, he decided to be honest with her, so he asked her to go to lunch with him the next day. But just as Gu Chuan was about to tell Xiaoning everything, a skateboarder suddenly appeared and bumped into his chest, causing a problem with his mechanical heart. He needed to go back to recharge immediately to get back to normal. So Gu Chuan quickly found an excuse to return home. But he accidentally dropped his watch, which Xiaoning picked up. Seeing his heart rate decreasing rapidly on the watch, she worried about his safety and rushed to his house. Xu Changran also received a warning and went to Gu Chuan's house. He saw that Gu Chuan was safe and sound in the charging pod, so he sighed in relief. Then the doorbell rang. Gu Chuan guessed that it was Xiaoning returning his watch. He couldn't hide it anymore. Xu Changran opened the door for her, then left, giving them time to talk. Xiaoning went to the charging room and saw Gu Chuan lying in the pod, recharging. She was curious and about to ask, but he took the initiative to tell her the cause and effect. Xiaoning was shocked to learn the truth, but her shock quickly turned into excitement, because Gu Chuan was the man she had been looking for 10 years. At that moment, they finally overcame all obstacles and walked side by side after 10 years. Everyone in the company noticed the spark between Gu Chuan and Xiaoning. Seeing Xiaoning's embarrassment and Gu Chuan's smile, they seemed to have guessed what was going on. Only Man Lin was fuming. That night, Xiaoning stayed at Gu Chuan's house. They were in love, so even sleeping on the couch together was sweet. After they woke up, Gu Chuan even made breakfast for Xiaoning. He also turned off her alarm clock, hoping she could sleep in. Then, Man Lin called, criticizing Xiaoning for not coming to work on time and using work as an excuse to make things difficult for her. She also ordered her to buy her coffee. Seeing Xiaoning being bullied, Gu Chuan snatched the phone and said that she was at his place. He told her to do her job properly. Today, Gu Chuan's parents were returning from abroad. Man Lin wanted to go pick them up with him, but he refused. However, as soon as he left his office, He saw Gu Chuan holding Xiao Ning's hand as they left. Man Lin felt incredibly resentful. She deliberately found out Gu Chuan's parents' address and brought them gifts to visit. Sure enough, when they saw her, they were delighted and kept her for dinner. Gu Chuan was about to introduce his girlfriend to his parents, but seeing Man Lin there, he felt annoyed. Xiao Ning wanted to pour water for everyone, but the teapot was too hot, and she accidentally dropped it. Man Lin was smugly waiting for the drama to unfold, but Gu Chuan rushed to care for Xiao Ning, and his parents also noticed their relationship. They were happy for their son. Only Man Lin was unhappy. The next day, she went to find Gu Chuan and told him that she had gotten a scholarship to a university and that Xiao Ning could attend. Gu Chuan knew her intentions and quickly refused. He would personally teach Xiao Ning. He believed she would definitely pass. Man Lin, failing again, went to a bar and drowned her sorrows. Tang Xu sat next to her. He said that Man Lin had been trying so hard for Gu Chuan for so long, but didn't dare to confess her feelings. She was such a loser. Encouraged by Tang Xu, Man Lin, drunk, went to find Gu Chuan and confessed her feelings. But Gu Chuan saw Man Lin as a friend and told her directly that the one he loved was Xiao Ning. Man Lin couldn't understand what she had lost to Xiao Ning. In just a few short months, she had been defeated by someone who had only been with him for a few months. She belittled Xiao Ning, word for word, which made Gu Chuan very unhappy. He told her to go home, telling her to take a few days off to adjust her mood and then return to work. His cold attitude made her leave reluctantly. The next day, Gu Chuan took Xiao Ning to meet his parents, officially introducing her to them. His parents were very happy and thanked Xiao Ning for helping their son change. The four of them happily ate and chatted together. Later, Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan took his parents to the airport. At Xiao Ning's suggestion, he hugged his dad goodbye. When Man Lin returned to the company, Gu Chuan had moved her desk to a separate room and placed Xiao Ning in her spot. Man Lin hadn't changed her desk for 6 years, because from that spot, she could always see Gu Chuan. She couldn't believe that after rejecting her confession, he would be so cruel. Xiao Ning didn't even want to sit in her spot. That night, Man Lin went to the bar to drown her sorrows and ran into Tang Xu. Their misfortunes made them bond, and they commiserated about their heartache. But Man Lin didn't know that this meeting was a deliberate move by Tang Xu. His goal was to use her to manipulate Gu Chuan. Sure enough, Man Lin had feelings for Tang Xu and took the initiative to meet with him the next day. Tang Xu took the opportunity to remind Man Lin that she should make Gu Chuan feel a little insecure, so he could realize that she was the one who could never be replaced. If not for her, Gu Chuan wouldn't be where he was today. Man Lin was silent for a moment before finally agreeing to cooperate with Tang Xu. That day, Tang Xu, representing Reindeer Corporation, went to find Gu Chuan, hoping to have Gu Chuan design an architectural plan for them. Gu Chuan, considering the corporation's influence in the industry, didn't hesitate and agreed. Just as Gu Chuan was about to bid on the project, he didn't know that Tang Xu had secretly set up another company. His goal was to steal Gu Chuan's design and win the reindeer project himself. Seeing Man Lin and Gu Chuan busy revising the design draft, Xiao Ning wanted to help. Man Lin told her to go out and get some sandwiches, but it was raining heavily outside, and Xiao Ning hesitated before agreeing. Man Lin asked why, and Gu Chuan just said that Xiao Ning had gone through something bad on a rainy day. But Man Lin, pretending to understand, said that being locked up high like that would definitely be traumatizing for anyone. Gu Chuan was shocked because he never mentioned it to her. How did she know? The design was finally complete. Man Lin, taking advantage of the fact that no one was around, secretly copied the newly finished design from Gu Chuan's computer. But as she was about to hand over the documents, she hesitated. Ultimately, her desire overrode her conscience, and she gave the documents to Tang Xu. Tang Xu, with a lingering bit of conscience, went to find Xiao Ning to salvage his one-sided love. But she politely declined his offer. This made whatever conscience Tang Xu had left disappear, and he decided to carry out his plan to take Gu Chuan down. The next day, Gu Chuan's team went to the bidding site. Man Lin, distracted by guilt, was caught by Gu Chuan. When it was Gu Chuan's team's turn to present their plan, they discovered that another company had already released their design. Tang Xu was delighted to see someone else in trouble, and as the host, he urged them to come on stage quickly. Just when everyone didn't know what to do, Gu Chuan calmly presented an alternative design. This shocked Man Lin and Tang Xu. It turned out that a few days before, Gu Chuan had noticed that Man Lin was often distracted. He even saw her handing the documents to Tang Xu. So Gu Chuan and Xiao Ning had collaborated on a backup plan to deal with this emergency. Tang Xu, not wanting to lose, tried to make a last-ditch effort, directly standing up to criticize Gu Chuan for arbitrarily changing the plan. Gu Chuan asked if he had violated any rules. Tang Xu, immediately speechless, couldn't answer. In the end, with the intervention of the chairman of Reindeer Corporation, Gu Chuan successfully secured the design project. Tang Xu, because of this bidding incident, was caught by the chairman using his position for personal gain. Ultimately, he decided to revoke Tang Xu's appointment as CEO. Man Lin, for betraying Gu Chuan, and also for being discovered by Gu Chuan as the one who had locked Xiao Ning on the rooftop, was finally fired. To celebrate the success of winning the project, Gu Chuan took the initiative to ask Xiao Ning out. But suddenly, a stroller rolled down the street and a motorcycle was approaching. Gu Chuan, seeing this, rushed forward to push the stroller out of the way, but the motorcycle hit him directly in the chest, sending him crashing to the ground. It damaged his heart circuitry, causing him to fall into a coma. The hospital doctors couldn't do anything and had to find the doctor to fix it. Xu Cheng rushed to the doctor's research institute, but he learned from the assistant that the doctor had unfortunately passed away. Now, there was no one who could help Gu Chuan repair his heart. This meant that Gu Chuan's life was in danger. Gu Chuan, hearing this news, couldn't help but lament the injustice of fate. Finally, he didn't want Xiao Ning to grieve his death, so he decided to use coldness to push her away. The next day, Xiao Ning discovered that Gu Chuan had been discharged from the hospital and was back at work. But when she returned to the company, she realized something was off. Gu Chuan had changed, becoming cold even towards Xiao Ning. During a meeting, he also changed his usual tolerant attitude, scolding his subordinates for no reason. Xiao Ning went to find Gu Chuan alone, but he refused, saying he was busy with work. Until late at night, Xiao Ning waited for Gu Chuan to get off work, but her coworkers told her that he had gone home early. As Xiao Ning left, dejected, she didn't know that Gu Chuan was actually secretly protecting her not far away. Gu Chuan got home and received a message from Xiao Ning, which made him lose his cold exterior. He showed a look of heartache. But the heart rate monitor on his wrist reminded him of reality's cruelty. The next day, Xiao Ning was still full of energy and went to pick up Gu Chuan for work. But he told her that she didn't need to pick him up anymore. In the car, Xiao Ning carefully asked him about his recent changes, but he pretended to be asleep to avoid the question. At noon, Xiao Ning asked Gu Chuan to go out for lunch, but he ruthlessly refused. Xiao Ning finally couldn't take the cold violence anymore and wondered what was wrong with Gu Chuan. But he didn't explain, only telling her to leave. Xiao Ning could only leave the office, in tears. That evening, Xiao Ning, as usual, went to Gu Chuan's house to study architecture. Gu Chuan continuously forced her to do problems, completely different from his humorous self before. Then, the cat they were both raising suddenly got sick, so it was taken to the pet hospital for monitoring. At the reception desk, Xiao Ning saw news about a supermoon and was excited. Gu Chuan saw her cheerful look and hoped she would always be happy like that. Then he went back to the cemetery to buy a plot for himself. He also wrote a will, leaving half of his assets to Xiao Ning, hoping that this would give her some peace of mind. The next day, Xiao Ning bought breakfast for her coworkers at the company, but Gu Chuan directly scolded her in front of everyone. Xiao Ning felt like she couldn't take it anymore and decided to talk to Gu Chuan honestly. So she went to find him and asked him why he had been avoiding her lately. Did he want to break up? Faced with the word breakup, Gu Chuan couldn't bring himself to do it. He could only apologize for being cold to her recently. That evening, the four of them gathered to watch the supermoon together. But then, Zhao Yan mentioned taking Xu Cheng ran for a cancer checkup. Seeing her worried look, Gu Chuan thought about his own condition. Finally, he decided to break up with Xiao Ning. He said they were not from the same world. He thought he liked her, but he was wrong. We aren't compatible. Hearing Gu Chuan's reason for breaking up, Xiao Ning's eyes welled up with tears. She was heartbroken and ran off. Zhao Yan quickly chased after her. Xu Cheng could only shake his head. When Gu Chuan got home, he thought about his decision today, and his mind was filled with their sweet memories. The vet called to tell him that the cat's condition wasn't good. Its organs were failing. He suggested putting it down peacefully, but Xiao Ning refused, hoping it could get through this final stage. Gu Chuan, seeing her heart broken, reluctantly agreed to negotiate with the vet, but after Xiao Ning fell asleep and woke up, she discovered that Gu Chuan had signed the papers to put the cat down. She quickly called him, but he didn't answer. When she went home, dejected, she received a message from Gu Chuan. She rushed over, and to her surprise, she was at the cemetery, seeing the cat off on its final journey. Gu Chuan's coldness broke Xiaoning's heart. Finally, she accepted the reality that their relationship was over. Gu Chuan, knowing that Xiaoning's dream was to rebuild her ancestral home, decided to use the rest of his life to help her fulfill that dream. He also asked Xu Changran to take care of Xiaoning. For many days, Gu Chuan didn't go to the company. Xiaoning, worried about his safety, went to find Xu Changran. He lied, saying that Gu Chuan had gone abroad to take care of business and wouldn't be back for about a year and a half. This made Xiaoning incredibly sad. On her way back to the company, she kept thinking about whether he was deliberately avoiding her. But Xiaoning didn't know that Gu Chuan was at her ancestral home, completing the final mission of his life. Gu Chuan's departure left Xiaoning lost in thought. When she entered Gu Chuan's office, she would often mistakenly think he was back. Seeing Xiaoning's lonely figure, Xu Changran felt sorry for her. So he secretly went into the bathroom to call Gu Chuan, begging him to come back soon. But Zhao Yan heard the noise and suspected he was seeing someone else. She started interrogating him. But Xu Changran only revealed that it was Gu Chuan. He refused to disclose the content of the conversation. Finally, Zhao Yan angrily kicked him out of the house. The next day, Xu Changran went to find Gu Chuan to tell him about Xiaoning's situation. But Gu Chuan suddenly had a sharp pain in his mechanical heart. Xu Changran realized that Gu Chuan's heart attacks were becoming more frequent, a sign of his impending death. This made Gu Chuan once again warn Xu Changran that he absolutely could not tell anyone about his condition. That day, Xu Changran called Xiaoning to the office to sign her official employment contract. But looking more closely, he realized it was a will from Gu Chuan, leaving his assets to her. It turned out that Gu Chuan had asked Xu Changran to have her sign a transfer of assets agreement to ensure her future. Xu Changran knew that under normal circumstances, Xiaoning would definitely not sign. So he lied, saying that Gu Chuan had gone on a vacation abroad to avoid Xiaoning. This distracted her, and she carelessly signed the contract. Xu Changran felt a little guilty, but he didn't know how else he could trick her into signing. However, Gu Chuan's heart was still filled with torment. He finally decided to tell Zhao Yan the truth. At first, Zhao Yan was upset when she learned about Gu Chuan's mechanical heart. She felt sorry for Xiaoning. He couldn't love, so why was he still with her? But when she learned about everything Gu Chuan had done for Xiaoning, she was moved. Early the next morning, Xu Changran suddenly received an alert from Gu Chuan's heart. He rushed to the hotel where he was staying. It turned out the battery life of his mechanical heart had been shortened. Luckily, Xu Changran arrived in time and saved him. Gu Chuan woke up and scolded Xu Changran for letting Zhao Yan know. Zhao Yan, having seen Gu Chuan's condition firsthand, couldn't help but apologize for misunderstanding him. At the same time, Chen Wenwen went to find Xiaoning to learn why she and Gu Chuan had broken up. She had contacted Gu Chuan earlier and learned about it. Although he hadn't revealed the truth, Chen Wenwen could hear the desperation in his voice. This time, she came to find Xiaoning to advise her to try to understand Gu Chuan's heart. Xiaoning, hearing what she said, rekindled her love for Gu Chuan. So she went to Gu Chuan's house and remembered the time they spent together. She accidentally saw the blueprints for her ancestral home. Then she received a call from the pet hospital, asking for a refund. When she got there, she learned that Gu Chuan had signed the papers to euthanize the cat, but had changed his mind and taken it with him. Knowing the truth, Xiaoning called Gu Chuan, but she couldn't get through. So she contacted Zhao Yan, hoping to get specific details about Gu Chuan's whereabouts through her and Xu Changran. Although Zhao Yan had agreed to keep it a secret from Xiaoning, she really couldn't bear to see Xiaoning continue to grieve like this. So she secretly hinted to Xiaoning to think back to her wishes, and she would know where he was. These words made Xiaoning immediately remember the blueprints of her ancestral home. Finally, she guessed where Gu Chuan was. When she got to her ancestral home, she found Gu Chuan working busily. At this point, she had figured it all out. Gu Chuan's lies had instantly turned into bubbles. She insisted on staying with him, and refused to let him push her away. 10 years ago, Gu Chuan had taken her hand. 10 years later, she would never let go of him like that. They hugged each other and finally reconciled, back to how they were before. That night, they slept in the same bed. Gu Chuan couldn't help but feel a little nervous. His heart rate kept increasing. Xiao Ning tried to control her excitement and decided to make a cohabitation agreement. She stayed up all night writing it. Looking at Gu Chuan sleeping peacefully, she couldn't help but lean over and softly kiss him. Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan disappeared, which made the atmosphere at the company a little tense. There was an important project that needed to be adjusted. Gu Chuan and Man Lin were both gone, so no one was in charge. Xu Changran didn't want to tell Gu Chuan's father, so he secretly went to find Man Lin. After much persuasion, she finally agreed to help out for a while. However, Xu Changran still went to find Gu Chuan and told him about the situation at the company. He told him to come back to the company if he had time. The next day, Gu Chuan finally returned to the company. The atmosphere immediately returned to normal. Man Lin calmly greeted Gu Chuan, and they continued to collaborate on revising the plan. She was grateful that he had given her a chance to make amends. She was about to go abroad and asked Xiao Ning to go to dinner with her. Man Lin remembered the foolish things she had done and regretted them. Xiao Ning wished her luck in finding true love. Man Lin felt her sincerity and began to understand why Gu Chuan liked her so much. Before leaving, Man Lin raised her glass and sincerely wished Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan a bright future. Today, Xiao Ning went to Gu Chuan's house to help him clean. But then Gu Chuan's heart suddenly had a problem. She quickly helped him to the charging room, but it kept reporting interruptions. Xiao Ning saw his heart rate on the watch stop at 0, and she cried in fear. Gu Chuan remembered what the doctor had told him. If his heart was overloaded, it would automatically go into safe mode. It could prolong his life for a year, but he would lose all his joy and sorrow. He would become a moving vegetable. This was essentially a reminder to Gu Chuan that he didn't have much time left. Today, Xiao Ning went to inspect a construction site with a coworker when 2 steel pipes suddenly fell from above. Xiao Ning quickly pushed her coworker out of the way, but she was hit by the pipes. Gu Chuan rushed to the hospital. Seeing Xiao Ning in the hospital bed, he should have been heartbroken, but he remained unusually calm. But when Xiao Ning woke up, she understood his feelings and comforted him, telling him not to worry. Seeing Xiao Ning's understanding nature, Gu Chuan didn't want to live like a zombie anymore. So, he contacted the doctor's assistant, Qingzi, to ask how to get out of safe mode. Qingzi said that if he returned to normal mode, his lifespan would be reduced from 1 year to 1 month. Gu Chuan didn't hesitate and agreed. Qingzi repeatedly advised him to reconsider, but he remained determined to return to normal mode. In the end, he was successfully helped by her to get out of safe mode. The first thing he did was rush to find Xiao Ning. Xiao Ning had been playing around playfully with Gu Chuan for the past few days. She was overjoyed to see him smiling back at her. Then, Gu Chuan suggested taking Xiao Ning's family to see the almost completed ancestral home. Seeing Gu Chuan working so hard to help her family, Aunt Zhang immediately wanted them to get married and have children. This made Xiao Ning incredibly embarrassed. Just as they were about to leave, her grandma fainted. Luckily, the doctor diagnosed it as nothing serious. As they were comforting her grandma, Tang Xu's father suddenly came to visit. But Aunt Zhang was very upset to see him. But now, her grandma, suffering from Alzheimer's, mistook Mr. Tang for her son. She brought up the embezzlement case again. She vented all the resentment she had bottled up for years. Mr. Tang couldn't bear to see her continue to suffer, so he went home, ashamed. After a mental struggle, Mr. Tang decided to tell Xiao Ning everything from those years ago. It turned out that 10 years ago, he and Xu Changran's father had embezzled company funds, but Xiao Ning's father had discovered it and even wanted to report them. Mr. Tang, worried he would go to jail, told Mr. Zhu, Mr. Xu, in order to bury the truth, had someone drive a car to kill Xiao Ning's father and silence him. He then blamed all the embezzlement on Xiao Ning's father. He got away with it and avoided punishment from the law. Having finished telling everything, Mr. Tang took out the evidence of Mr. Xu's embezzlement and gave it to Xiao Ning. He considered this as clearing her father's name. Mr. Tang knew that his mistakes were serious. He knelt in front of Xiao Ning in sincere repentance. Then Xiao Ning went to find Gu Chuan to discuss it. She decided to expose Mr. Zhu's crimes. Gu Chuan told Xu Chang ran about it so he could prepare himself. Seeing the ironclad evidence of his father's embezzlement and murder, Yu Changran was shocked. He also felt very guilty because his father had almost killed Xiao Ning and Gu Chuan, but he wanted to try to persuade him to confess before they called the police. The two of them, Gu Chuan and Xu Changran, softened and agreed. Then Xu Changran went to find his father and reprimanded him for his crimes. He also advised him to turn himself in. Mr. Shu immediately made excuses, saying that he did everything for his family. Seeing that he wasn't remorseful, Shu Changran was heartbroken, but he still spoke to his father with sincerity, saying that he had always been his hero. He had always wanted his father's approval, which was why he had partnered with Gu Chuan to start a company and agreed to return to Reindeer. He didn't want his hero to be a man who was irresponsible. Finally, Mr. Shu agreed to turn himself in, also saying that he had always lived with guilt, and now was the time to rid himself of it. But after Shu Changran left, Mr. Shu immediately called his assistant. Meanwhile, Xiao Ning was on her way home, calling Gu Chuan when she was kidnapped by a strange man and put in a truck. He pulled out a knife, controlled her, and demanded that she give him the evidence. After some questioning, he learned that she didn't have the evidence. Just then, Gu Chuan called. He admitted that he had the evidence but insisted on protecting Xiao Ning's safety. Meanwhile, Tang Shu had just returned home. Mr. Tang, fearing that Mr. Shu would silence him, quickly pulled his son away. But Tang Shu saw the evidence of Mr. Shu's crime in his father's hand and decided to negotiate with him. Mr. Shu, preparing to flee, didn't have time to deal with him. He hurriedly wanted to leave. But when he went outside, he ran into Shu Changran. It turned out that Shu Changran knew his father well. He knew he would definitely try to escape and stayed at the door. Tang Shu, seeing that things were not good, was about to slip away when he heard police sirens. It turned out that Shu Changran had called the police as a precaution. Finally, Mr. Shu and Tang Shu paid for their actions. Gu Chuan, according to the kidnapper's demands, took the evidence with him to save Xiao Ning. But after they got the evidence, they still didn't intend to let them go. Luckily, Gu Chuan had learned a few martial arts moves and managed to fight them off. But he was accidentally stabbed in his mechanical heart. At this critical moment, Gu Chuan's heart rate immediately spiked, and an electric current shot out, knocking the kidnappers unconscious. Gu Chuan, due to the excessive discharge, fell into a coma. Luckily, thanks to emergency treatment, Gu Chuan escaped life-threatening danger, but the doctor said he might not wake up. Xiao Ning, now knowing that Gu Chuan had voluntarily shortened his lifespan to be with her, looked at him lying in the hospital bed and gently stroked his face. She remembered the car accident 10 years ago, when Gu Chuan, even in the face of death, held her hand. Now, she wouldn't let go of him either. She didn't hesitate to stay by his side to protect him. Meanwhile, Shu Changran's company went bankrupt, and his father went to jail. He was suddenly burdened with a lot of debt. Fearing that he would drag Zhao Yan down, he left her a divorce agreement and left on his own. But Zhao Yan quickly found him. She told him that she didn't need any wealth and fortune. She truly wanted the Shu Changran in front of her. Then, Zhao Yan took out her wedding ring and knelt down to propose to him again. Feeling her sincerity, Shu Changran tearfully agreed. During the time that Gu Chuan was in a coma, every day, Xiao Ning shared with him what was happening around him, whether he could hear it or not. She hoped that when he woke up, he wouldn't feel like he was a stranger in this world. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. Xiao Ning had successfully managed the company. She and Aunt Jiang were living the rural life they had dreamed of. Xiao Ning also moved into Gu Chuan's house. Gu Chuan, with Xiao Ning's dedicated care, woke up. The doctor's assistant successfully repaired the issues with his mechanical heart. Now, even kissing wouldn't increase his heart rate. They could finally face a brighter future together, hand in hand. And their story tells us that when you face an insurmountable obstacle, as long as you don't give up, there will always be a rainbow after the rain. That's the end of the story. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so I can be motivated to make even more interesting stories. Thank you.